The Florida Gators open SEC play this week, and while I don't think these changes will happen, I want some depth chart changes.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free for the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33. And as always, Florida Gators depth charts coming out today. Before we talk about that, Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. Florida Gators depth chart is coming out tonight. As always, it comes out on Wednesdays. We will be getting injury updates officially this week, by the way, because the SEC rule is that on in-conference play, from Wednesday on, there needs to be an injury report with updates similar to the NFL style. And so we will be getting those for the Florida Gators today. Also noteworthy, I have 4 positions I want to talk about. First, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I think I know what we're gonna see from here. But quarterback, I want to see DJ Lagway start over Graham Mertz. I understand that they're both going to be there, and I'm not saying this to say like I'm not saying this to bash anybody. I mean this with no disrespect whatsoever toward Graham. I just think that when you have an offense with a line that struggles and when you have an offense that could benefit from a little bit of chaos, you put in the quarterback who can benefit from that. And that's DJ Lagway. He's creating with his legs. He's looking for the deep ball. I think DJ just gives you a better chance to win. And if Graham comes out and Graham plays elevated from last year, I think we can have a different conversation. I don't think he needs to be significantly better than last year, but he still needs to be better than he was last year, which, again, was still good given the expectations. But now you've got a 5-star breathing down your neck. You got to be better there. Another offensive change that I'd like to see, or that I think the team might benefit from, it might be Tony Livingston time at tight end. I have been, through the first 2 games of the season, I have been pretty unimpressed with what Arlis Boardingham has brought to the table. He just hasn't done much. He had 1 catch against Miami for 4 yards. He had 2 catches against Samford for another 16 yards. A couple things here, and I've said this for a long time now. Arlis is more of a power slot than a tight end. He's the Travis Kelce type. He's a power slot. He's not really a tight end. However, they're playing him at tight end. And when you're playing a guy at tight end that isn't a true tight end, it's probably not going to go wonderfully for him or for you. And for me, again, I think that Arlis is just relatively underwhelmed this year. Last year, he wasn't great, but it was also, a lot wasn't great. And he was young last year. But I don't think he comes down with enough contested catches. I don't think he lays it all out there consistently. And again, this isn't me hating Arlis at all. I understand Arlis has talent. But when I look at the relatively unproductive pass-catching game, and I watch him be bad as a blocker, I just don't see the upside right now with playing him. And that's just where I land on Arlis. Again, it's not to bash him. It's not to say he's not good. But he is someone that, through this point in the season, has not impressed me. Tony Livingston hasn't been amazing either. I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying, oh, Tony Livingston is so fantastic. But I'm at least more confident in what Tony Livingston brings to the table as a blocker than what Arlis brings to the table as a blocker. And I understand that might sound a little counterproductive to go, oh, just put 2 blocking tight ends on the field. I get that. I do. However, if I have to choose between a guy who I know can be a better blocker, I'm not sure what he's going to do as a pass catcher, but I know he can be a better blocker, or a guy that isn't good at blocking, just straight up isn't good. And by that, I mean, not even using his hands. He just plows into people at times. You watch the Samford game, and there were more times where he's just plowing into someone without trying to block them with his hands than not. You watch the Miami game. He was in pass protection, 1 rep, gave up a sack immediately. Stuff like that. Like I'd rather have the guy that's a reliable blocker or a more reliable blocker, but maybe doesn't present much as a pass catcher than the guy who I know isn't a good blocker. And also to this point in the season hasn't been productive as a pass catcher. Like Arliss is someone that we talk about a lot as his pass catching prowess. He's got 3 catches on 7 targets for 20 yards right now. And I'm not even trying to do the stat sheet watching, stat sheet, box score scouting, whatever you want to call it. But when you watch it, he's not making men miss after the catch. Granted, 2 of those 3 catches, I don't think he was put in a position to run after the catch. But he's also not creating a ton of separation, and it's not like he's just being missed. He's not being productive as a pass catcher. So for me, it might be Tony Livingston time at tight end. Defensively, I have 2 changes. At the F spot, and I know a lot of people love what Cam James has done so far through the first 2 games. So do I. I'm removing the or and setting Tyreek Sapp as the starter. I think Tyreek Sapp is someone that I have been critical of throughout his time here. Tyreek Sapp and Justice Boone are both players that I've been pretty critical of. And Tyreek Sapp is one that I've always said he's a good run defender. I just don't think he brings much to the table as a pass rusher. 2 things on that. 1, he's still a good run defender. He's gotten better as a run defender this year. He is. He's a guy that I think is benefiting from the coaching changes and from the system. I think he's doing a really good job this year. I think it's been impressive. I think his game against Miami, he was one of the few players where I can watch that game back and I go, he played well. And I'm not saying that everybody played horribly, but when I watch that game against Miami, I look at what Tyreek Sapp did and I say he played well, just outright well. Samford, he obviously also played well. That was Samford. I think he's taken a step as a pass rusher as well. That's the second thing. I think that he's still not great as a pass rusher. I would still like to see more from him. But for a guy that is thought of as your strong side end that we're looking at and we're going, oh, you know, I don't think he's going to be anything special. He's got the most pressures, most sacks on the team right now. And he's just been generally on film. He's winning more than pretty much any other pass rusher on this defense, any other lineman on this defense. I think he deserves that credit of he's just straight up playing well this year. And he absolutely deserves that credit. So for me, I want to see Tyreek Sapp get the full-time starting spot at the F. I want to see Cam James be the second F and Justice Boone slide down to third. I've been thoroughly unimpressed with Justice Boone as well this year. The couple of penalties that he's gotten, and especially that one roughing the passer on the opening drive against Miami, inexcusable play there. And so for me, Tyreek Sapp starting F, Cam James is the second F, and then Justice Boone as the third. And at safety, I have a change as well. I don't mean this to sound bashful, but one of the very few transfer portal additions that I was critical of, one of the very few transfer portal additions that I said, like when he came over, I said, you know what, by the general standard of, is this a good transfer portal addition? It's a starter from a group of 5 school that's looking to take the step up. That alone makes it again, just fundamentally pretty good transfer portal addition. However, even as we were getting closer to the season, as we were talking about this, I was saying, but I don't know that he's good enough for the SEC. And I think that throughout the first 2 games, I've kind of seen that I don't think DJ Douglas is good enough for the SEC. I don't think he's good enough to be a significant contributor at the SEC level. I've had a lot of questions about what he brings to the table. And my main thing was he struggled tackling at Tulane. Like, you struggled tackling at the group of 5 level. I think that when you get to the SEC, it's going to be harder. And against Miami, he looked really bad. And I'm not even talking about the play where he went into the hedges and he was just stuck there, sitting there, and he was getting mean. I just mean in general, he looked bad. And in coverage, he wasn't great either. I think he was one of the players that there were a few coverage breakdowns which again was communication. It might not be his fault directly, but on the field, he looked bad. And so for me, I'd rather see a young guy like Gregory Smith III come in and play, where you might be a little bit rough. I don't think he played against Miami. He definitely played against Samford. You might be a little bit rough, but at least if you're rough around the edges and I'm watching you play, I'll go, you know what? He's a true freshman. So I don't mind that much about it. We'll talk about Hayden Hansen next. He's joining the show, as he always does on Wednesdays, next on Locked On Gators. Hey, Locked On Gators fans. I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. It's Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine being the actual head coach of the Florida Gators? I can. I do it. We still haven't won. I've still tried doing the option zone blitz thing. It doesn't work that well. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go. I play on the flight to Jacksonville and then drove to Gainesville. But we have a special offer for Locked On Gators fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk because it'll get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the app stores. It's Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I use Game Time exclusively for tickets. I've told you, I bought Anita tickets. I bought Shabuzi tickets. I bought that Mexican OT tickets. I bought my Miami at Florida tickets. I bought Swaco I'm going to see in late October. I use only Game Time. It's the best. You can take the guesswork of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Joining me now for Locked On Gators is Hayden Hansen, Florida Gators starting tight end. You may recognize him from a 40-yard catch, which we'll talk about in a second there. But how'd it feel? Pick up the first win of the season.
It was good. Obviously we were expected to do that against that opponent, but it's good to get the taste out of your mouth for sure. Get a little momentum going into A&M week.
Yeah, it's it was a big win for, just the fan base was so toxic that week after the Miami loss. So it's good to get a win. I don't care who it came against, but 40-yard catch for you. The first catch of the game too was your I think it was 6 yards, and then you had the 40-yarder up the seam. Do you think that was enough to kind of calm the Hayden Hansen should move to offensive tackle question? That I will say that we know isn't an actual question, but every Florida Gators fan on social media wants to talk about it.
Yeah, I hope so. Shit. I always want the ball more. Sometimes you got to take it as a compliment, just how blocking's been looking on the television. But, anytime that ball gets thrown to me, I'm going to try to make something happen. So
I got to ask, were you in the film room after just like, see? Like I could just do it a bit.
Yeah, Napier made a couple of jokes about it. So did Callaway. He was like, we get about 2 targets a game. So we'll see.
That's what I felt like. That's what it was last year. We've joked about it before, but it's like you would always get a couple catches on the early drives and then kind of go ghost. And that was the running joke there. And then towards the end of the season, you set a career-long catch, and then a career-long catch, and then a career-long catch, and then now a career-long catch. And we joked last year about the 40, but now that you got 40, when are we seeing 50 here?
Next week, I hope, or this week, I hope. We'll see. It'd be cool to do it against a Texas school, Texas A&M, Texas. That'd be cool. So we'll see.
We've never talked about that. How much are you looking forward to? Obviously, it's almost 2 months away, but how much are you looking forward to the Texas game where you get to go to your home state and actually play that game?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's a little personal for me. They skipped over me in my own state. Same with A&M's got a new staff now, but A&M, Texas, TCU, Tech didn't really reach out to me too much. So I take it kind of personal. And for those games, I'm going to be ready. A little chip on my shoulder.
Have those schools generally, if if you even know the answer to this, have those schools generally recruited Weatherford much, or?
Well, so no, not. I mean, I was really the only D1 player from Weatherford, except for Ken Seals. Obviously, he just transferred to TCU, just transferred back home from Vanderbilt. But I'm trying to think. We had a kid named Cisco. He was a safety. Florida actually offered him. He ended up going to Baylor, and I think he's at a FCS now. But that's really about it.
You throwing up the horns down if you score against Texas?
I don't know. I'm not really one to be like that. Maybe if it's deserved, like if they do it to me or something, I don't know. But I might just stick to the bow and arrow.
Yeah, hey, you can shoot the horns down, bow and arrow there. But I'm curious. So this Saturday was DJ Lagway's first career start for the Florida Gators. Obviously, can you walk me through what that was like with DJ? If that was any different from when Graham's the starter? Just like I know we saw. Against Miami, we saw the pregame huddle of Graham yelling to you guys all huddled up. We saw the same thing with DJ for Samford. And so I'm not even talking about just the hype surrounding a true freshman, but just the first career start on a relatively veteran team. This is last year we would always look at the team and go, oh, like they're young. These things make sense. Now you guys are more veteran with a true freshman signal caller for that game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, kind of back what I said last week's podcast that whoever's in the game, whoever's playing, we're going to rally around them. We did that with DJ too. Gave him a voice, let him talk his mind before the game, let him know we were behind him, and went out and did his thing. And I mean, I really wouldn't say I was surprised. I mean, I knew he was capable of that. I think we all did. And it's just really cool. I mean, it's really rare you have two good quarterbacks, two egoless quarterbacks, and I mean, no tension. They're both going to play. They're going to get used. It'll be exciting.
How does it feel knowing that now the talk about Florida is a two-quarterback system that the entire fan base wants to see now?
Oh, I mean, I think it's cool. It opens up options down the road, and I think the staff can get really creative with it.
And now that you've played a game with DJ at quarterback, you played a full season with Graham at quarterback, what's the difference for you personally just playing with a quarterback like DJ compared to Graham, where DJ extends plays more and he's looking to run more and he's looking usually, I would say it's fair to say he has a tendency to look for the deep ball more than Graham usually does. So if you're in pass pro, you've got to hang around longer. If you're running routes, you maybe have to work a scramble drill, move around. It's just, what's that difference like for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, you put anyone back there besides Graham, it's going to be a little different. DJ is just a freak athlete, you know. I mean, everyone on this team's a freak athlete, in my opinion. So he just everyone has their little different styles. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You know, DJ in high school liked to run a lot, so remember that too. Like if you're blocking a guy, he tries to pull away, let him go, don't get a holding call, stuff like that. But I mean, it's not like Graham doesn't do that too. Graham runs also. It just depends. I mean, it's just really fun playing with both of them. They're both really smart guys, and they're going to do what's best for the team.
Yeah, and as the team, how does it feel to, like you mentioned, kind of wash the bad taste out of your mouth and get into the win column for the first time? Just again, as a unit, it felt like, again, fan base was so toxic after the Miami loss, and emotions were running high. And now you've got the win, 1-1. It's kind of clean slate going into the SEC play now.
I mean, it was much needed. We really needed it, especially because I mean, this team is really passionate, and we don't let stuff go too easily, you know. So it's just, I mean, we're still pretty pissed off about the performance of Miami, but this win helps us move along, and I think it's just good because a lot of guys on the team, we got a chip on our shoulder. I mean, I've always had one. I know if they didn't have one, they have one now. That's for damn sure, and. I think we're just making sure that we don't get embarrassed like that in the swamp again, because that just wasn't acceptable. And especially, I mean, we're in SEC play now, and it's always going to be a hard physical game. There's no excuses. We have players, they have players. We just have to go out and do our thing.
You've heard me talk about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and we have a little something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And I don't know about you, but yesterday, Francisco Lindor hit, Brandon Nimmo hit, Chris Bassett, 3 strikeouts. plus 106. Hit that parlay. Loved it. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Yeah, and I want to ask this question because, and not to be hung up on last year. Obviously, we know how last year ended. It wasn't fun for anybody. I can imagine it wasn't fun for you guys either. But a lot of this roster was here last year. Like there was turnover, of course. There always is. But a lot of the guys on the roster now, I mean, Billy Napier talked about it extensively this offseason at SEC Media Days, one of the highest returning production percentages in the SEC. And I know there's criticism coming from everywhere to everyone about who's going to be starting, who should be starting, who should do this, who should do that. But last year ended on a 5-game losing streak. Lost the first game this year. So it was 10 months since a win. And I know it's Samford, so it's the quality of play. But what does it feel like to finally have that slump buster as an actual unit?
Yeah, I mean, it's just good, I think the last time we won was in October. So that's why I said we really needed that. One of my concerns that I voiced in the locker room, I was just like, we cannot make losing a part of the culture here. We can't get used to that. And I think it was good we brought in a lot of new guys from the transfer portal that didn't like that, and they're like, I'm not a losing type of guy, and it was good because I haven't seen it. I've heard of other teams that get so used to losing, and it's just like whatever, But I haven't seen that in this locker room, but I was really voicing that in the locker room. I was like, this cannot happen. Like after the Miami game, I was like, this cannot be a normal thing, and everyone agreed with that, and that's how we're rolling coming forward.
Yeah, what's just the leadership dynamic like in the locker room, if you don't mind me asking? Of again, it's a more veteran team. Last year, some guys left that were some of the more experienced players, and the guys were kind of learning on the job last year. And this year, a lot of returning talent there and a lot of returning leadership there.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of leaders this year, and it's really cool on both sides of the ball, special teams even, just guys that do it the right way, that have earned respect in the locker room. We really don't have one main guy. I mean, yeah, you can say Graham is one of the main guys, comes with the territory. But I'd say there's probably about 12 to 15 guys that they stood up and talk, everyone's going to listen. And I think that's really cool. That's something we didn't have last year.
Yeah, and we've talked about special teams before here. Week 1 against Miami, special teams was great. Week 2 was great. But I need to go back to a specific play against Miami where – what was it like when Rocco Underwood just lit off the Miami returner?
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. I remember I was sitting on the bench going over the plays on the iPad. I look up and I just hear boom. I was like, who was that? They said Rocco. I was like, oh, it's Rocco? I was like, damn.
Yeah, that was right in my line of sight from where I was sitting. So I just got to see him and it stood over and I was like, holy,
yeah,
Rocco Underwood over there just catching bodies over there, which it was just fun to see because, obviously the game wasn't going great. There were a lot of things, but it just felt nice to have someone just pop a Miami player and kind of let them know because it was that arrogance. But looking to the future now, this week, like you mentioned earlier, open SEC play this week, facing Texas A&M. What's prep just been like for, again, it's second Power 4 game of the season, but first conference game of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can really feel it like starting today at practice, just the intensity's up a little bit. We know what we're facing up against. A&M has a hell of a D-line room. Got a bunch of respect for those guys working right now to get ready for them. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a war in the trenches. So, I mean, it's just it kind of just goes back to the system we have in place, like for the whole weeks and stuff. And nothing changes, but you can just tell like the intensity and just everything really just speeds up. So
as the blocking tight end, do you kind of, or again, obviously the more blocking tight end, do you kind of look forward to these matchups where it's like, oh, like I'm probably going to have to get pretty gritty in this one?
Yeah, for sure. Like even last year against Missouri, number 9, drawing blank for his name, but he went first round of the Ravens. Good dude. And I felt like I put some good stuff on tape against him. It's just exciting. I mean, going against guys like that are going to be in the NFL, and just be like, all right, let's see where I line up. I want to end up in the league. Let's see where let's see where it happens.
Yeah, I mean that's the SEC. Every week you're going up against probable NFL players, probable Sunday players. So that's one of the reasons that the SEC has such a high hit rate with the NFL is that it's the iron sharpens iron mentality there. We know that Shamar James mentioned that he told the running backs, you see Scooby Williams, or I think it was Trayon Webb specifically, but see Scooby Williams, see Jaden Hill, just run at them. Is that the kind of same sentiment that you guys have for just former players and even former coaches too? Because Jay Bateman's there now, defensive coordinator. He was the linebacker coach for you guys last year. Sean Spencer, defensive line coach for you guys last year. So is that kind of the same sentiment that you guys have just throughout for the former Gators on that roster?
Yeah, I mean, I think what Shamar said is more like a friendly rivalry, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't sit well with most guys on the team how some of those guys left. But yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want those guys to come back and beat you, But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I used to go against Scooby and Jay Hill in practice. They're good players. They wouldn't be at A&M if they weren't. But I'm looking forward to it for sure,
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. And yeah, I kind of told you a little bit about this off air, but I like to end with a fun little off-topic thing. And I spend a good deal of time in Twitter Spaces. I'm just like, whether I'm listening or talking, it felt good to sit in a space the other day and have a bunch of people all of a sudden just go, I've always liked Hansen. I've told all of you guys that. It felt good to know, like, just I'm not going to lie. I went up there and I was like, I got to be 3 years on the show. So it felt good to have that little bragging rights. But how's it feel knowing that now there's genuine fans that are just like he needs to get the ball more. He's huge, he's tall, he's fast, needs the ball more.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's all the hard work, paying off. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the love I'm getting. But stuff to get better at for sure. But yeah, just keep working for them. And, I always want to go out there and win for the fans. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hayden. This was Hayden Hansen, Florida Gators starting tight end. Catch him every week on Locked On Gators, every Wednesday and every Saturday playing for your Florida Gators. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free by visiting the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more Florida Gators football, joined by Andrew Stefaniak of Locked On Aggies. We're going to have crossover Thursday. It's back for SEC play. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, WNS_Brandon. I am Brandon Olsen. I'll see you all next time.